Jeez! What the f? Oh, what is that? Alex!
Oh my god!
Come on, is it recording? Yeah. I'm gonna turn my light on because. Wow, that is. I'm just getting out of the tent. I heard some screaming, going, "Help! Help!" What the hell? Wait.
You're alone in the woods. It is past midnight. Footsteps right outside your tent. And when you unzip it, nothing there. Tonight's 6 real camping encounters all hit that same wall. One investigator found his campfire rearranged into a cross. Another caught a human heat signature hiding behind a tree and ran. Not one of them has a clean answer. On a late night in 2025, a paranormal investigator made his way back to a location he had named the Satanic Cult Ritual Forest. The man behind the channel, Exploring with Angelo, had built his reputation on solo overnight expeditions into abandoned places, haunted forests, and sites tied to unexplained activity. This particular forest had pulled him back before, and it was pulling him back again. He had kept his distance for 2 months, but reports from local residents describing robed figures and animal sacrifices drew him back. It was 11 at night when he stepped into the trees. He was alone. What he did not know was that someone, or something, was already waiting.
What's up, guys? We are back at what we've been calling the Satanic Cult Ritual Forest for a very specific reason. We genuinely believe that there is a cult coming out to these woods. This place is also extremely haunted, and I plan on coming back in here and camping out for the entire night. Basically, I actually know one of the neighbors, and they will not come on camera. They are just so afraid of these freaking people that they've seen on multiple different occasions coming in here in very weird clothing, full garb. The only thing they could describe it as is cult-like. They found animal sacrifices. I have found weird stuff out here as well and had so many weird occurrences. We're going to go deep in there again and see if we can capture anything paranormal on camera.
As he moved deeper into the woods, the environment seemed to resist him. He caught sounds of movement in the surrounding darkness and had the unmistakable feeling that something was watching him from behind.
Well, that's creepy. I heard something back there, but it also kind of felt almost as if like someone was behind me for a second there. Hello? Okay, whatever. It is a very pleasant night, actually. Not too hot, which is good. Less humidity means less bugs.
He pushed on through the insects and mud until he found a sheltered clearing suitable enough to make camp.
This actually looks like a pretty decent little nook. Let's kind of clean up the ground a little bit. In a few moments, now that I've stopped, I'm kind of noticing how bad the bugs are. So basically, I want to clear this so that way we can actually put the tent here. I guess we'll have a little fire here, I suppose, or maybe even on that side. I swear I just heard whistling again. Like, it legit, like, sounds like human whistling, almost. Kind of sounded like it came from that direction, but it could just be an owl or some birds or something, I don't know.
He activated his spirit box to probe whether the forest would reveal anything about the presence he was sensing. The device produced a name, Sean, followed by a time reference pointing to the 1700s.
Sean.
Well, we got the name Sean. Who's Sean? Sean, what are you doing out here? Okay, I swear I just heard that again. It sounded closer this time. What? Dude, that literally sounds like that whistle thing. Mayan whistle or whatever? That is legit like probably the 3rd time I've heard that out here. Hi, Sean, are you still there?
Follow is right.
Like that way? What's down that way? Just trees.
Spirits walk.
I knew I was hearing a sizzle, but it's coming from the fire.
1700s.
Okay. What happened in the 1700s?
Brown.
Okay, something's back there.
God protects this place.
Oh, shit. What the hell was that?
Visit.
Who's visiting?
1.
Okay, that sounded like something was like right next to me.
Then a sound ripped through the forest without warning. It was the raw, spine-freezing shriek of an Aztec death whistle. The source appeared to be just a few feet away.
Somehow
It's
my
unpleasant here.
flashlight turned on in my pocket.
I enjoy the company. Lungs.
Lungs? What happened to your lungs?
Shush, listen.
Yeah, no kidding. That was the Aztec death whistle. That's what it's called, not the Mayan. I called it the Mayan whistle. That was literally right there. That was so close.
When he returned to his campsite, something was off. The fire he had built from small loose sticks had been completely reorganized. Heavy pieces of wood were now arranged across the embers in a deliberate cross shape.
Why is my stuff all over the place? What the hell? Wait. I didn't do that. I left literally just a bunch of small sticks in there. I think someone came through. Like, I didn't do that. Two little, like, cross things. Like, this doesn't even make sense. Like, dude, all the wood was piled up here. I don't know what the hell happened here. Somebody clearly came through. They must have, and they messed up the campfire. Well, they didn't mess it up, but like, I did not put this cross here like this. I was trying to avoid using big chunks of wood.
Someone had been there. Despite the obvious sign of another person in the area, he chose to stay. He climbed into his tent, kept a hatchet within reach, and managed to fall into a shallow sleep. It did not last.
Jeez, what the? Okay, that got a little close. What was that? What is that? Something's out there.
He jolted awake and burst out of his sleeping bag, rushing to get his shoes on. The whistling had returned, unmistakably human, coming from somewhere deep in the brush.
I think somebody is out here. Considering the circumstances, maybe it's not a good idea to stay out the whole night. I literally, like, just fell asleep, too. Okay. I don't know. It sounded like it came from that direction. To be honest, guys, like, I don't know what to do. I don't want to leave, but at the same time, if someone's out here, like, they could be legit dangerous. Can't they have, like, one chill night out in this place? I mean, this is kind of what we come to figure out here, but, like, why? The heck was that? It's like music. Alright, we're gonna pack it up.
He did not wait around. He left the forest quickly and later reflected that certain places are better left undisturbed. One person watching the footage noted plainly that there was in fact someone out there whistling. Nobody confirmed who rearranged that fire or where the whistling came from. Was it a person trying to scare him off? Or something tied to whatever group had been using those woods? If you were in his position, would you have stayed or left the moment things started going wrong? Hold on a sec. If you're enjoying this so far, make sure to hit that subscribe button. Let's continue. Paranormal investigator Dan set out for the slopes of Pendle Hill, a place forever marked by the witch trials of 1612. The video went live on October 16, 2024. Dan runs the channel Exploring with Fighters, built on a simple but unsettling premise. Go to the places most people avoid, stay the night, and see what happens. Local legend had long warned that the spirits of those hanged on that hill never moved on. The crew set up camp in the dense pine forest, hoping for a peaceful weekend trip. However, a sudden, brutal rainstorm trapped them inside their tent. Just as they tried to rest, something shifted right outside.
So, as we were just talking, then it looked like somebody just moved the door of the tent.
Go and open it up. I'm curious if the fire's still going.
Yeah, the fire's still going and there's nobody there. It could do with some more wood putting on though, because it's getting really low. Right. There's nobody out there.
Outside, the campfire was still burning, but the clearing around it was completely empty. No one was there.
It's so hard, but that was a clear get out, and I get out a lot, and I'm wondering, why do we get out quite a lot? It's like the same.
The quiet was then broken by a sharp female voice coming through the spirit box device. It did not come through as a whisper. It came through as a command to leave.
Listen. Baby. You hear that?
Yeah, baby.
There's a woman who very quietly says, baby.
Oh yeah.
You hear it then?
Yeah.
Is that what you're trying to tell us? Have you got a baby? So this has said so far, something waits there, knife, and pulse. Your family. Whose family? Is it because I called you sisters?
Your family.
My family. Yeah.
No. Your family.
I'm hiding. What do you mean?
Not as in it's your family, as in you were family.
Oh, right, okay.
Shortly after, a softer voice followed, gentle and maternal, repeating a single word. The presence identified itself as family and revealed that it had been hiding somewhere in the surrounding brush, watching the investigators from the darkness.
You hear that shit?
No.
Oh yeah.
This one will be different. Listen to this.
Yeah.
This one will be different.
What do they mean by that, like?
Oh, let's listen to the rest.
The atmosphere then shifted entirely. The warmth drained out of the air and the tone turned hostile. A woman's voice pushed through the device, carrying what sounded like a direct warning that this particular night would not go the way others had.
Yes! Oh! Right, listen again.
Hell.
Listen.
Yes.
Alice!
Oh my god!
I'm pretty sure it goes.
Alice! That's
Listen,
Alice.
listen.
Oh.
When Dan brought up the historical arrests connected to Malkin Tower, the device responded with force. A frantic confirmation came through, followed by an urgent and repeated signal to pay attention. Dan's body temperature dropped noticeably as the exchange continued.
My guys.
That REM pod's going off outside.
As the group eventually settled in for the night, the detection equipment positioned outside began activating in a steady, rhythmic pattern. Something kept responding every time Dan pushed deeper into the history of that place. Whether those responses pointed to something real or something else entirely is a question the footage alone cannot answer. Would you have kept asking? Or would that warning have been enough to make you pack up and go? The account comes from Man Dog Wild, an outdoor bushcraft channel built around solo wilderness camping and deep forest exploration. On April 12, 2020, the creator headed out to a remote woodland in the United Kingdom to spend the night alone. Before he even finished setting up his shelter, he shared a local story connected to that specific stretch of land. Two hunters had reportedly come across a tall, dark figure standing partially concealed in the brush. What made the story stick wasn't only what they saw, it was what happened next. Both men reportedly developed sudden and severe headaches at the exact same moment the figure was spotted, right before it vanished entirely. No evidence, no confirmation, but enough to set the tone. He stayed anyway.
So I guess it would have been round about now, dusk, that our hero would have encountered, would have had that encounter. Dusk, dawn, are probably the creepiest times when out here in the wilderness. You know, things just look different. They do look different than during the day. I remember walking a trail once. I was walking it throughout the day. Coming back at night, the trail looked completely different. It had me thinking, is this the right way? It's just gotten really windy all of a sudden. We're going to be in for a bit of a breezy night.
Later that night, something shifted. Several lights appeared in the sky above him, moving together in a tight formation. They were too distant to capture clearly on camera, but visible enough to catch his attention against the dark. His first assumption was satellites, specifically Starlink, which seemed like a reasonable fit at the time.
I checked the Starlink tracker this morning, and according to that, it wasn't Starlink last night. And I've seen Starlink before, long line, lots of lights. This wasn't like that. This was a very much shorter line, maybe 6, 7 lights close together.
The following morning, that assumption fell apart. He pulled up a satellite tracking tool to check what had been passing overhead during that window. Nothing matched. No scheduled movement lined up with what he had seen, and the tight grouping of the lights did not match the long, evenly spaced pattern that Starlink typically produces. The explanation he had settled on no longer held. The rest of the night had been unremarkable. Wind, forest sounds, solitude. Nothing approached, nothing moved on the ground. But the focus of the whole experience had quietly shifted upward, because what he observed in the sky was the part that resisted a clean answer. Not proven, not explained. Just something seen that did not line up with what it was supposed to be. The Starlink theory was the most logical starting point, and it still didn't hold up. Something was up there that night, and the tracker came back empty. What do you think those lights were? And would you have stayed in that spot after hearing the story about the hunters? Ghost Theory are two adventurers and paranormal enthusiasts making their way across the UK in search of locations with a reputation for strange activity, trying to separate fact from legend. The video was uploaded on April 12, 2026. The name might suggest otherwise, but these two do not manufacture scares. Their approach leans toward proper exploration and historical context, rather than reacting to every shadow, sound, or moving object. In this particular video, though, they chose to camp in what many consider the most haunted forest in the entire UK, and what they ran into had nothing to do with the paranormal.
We've just arrived here in this beautiful forest, and obviously being the day, it's not so bad, but we're going to be exploring this forest to try and get to all the most haunted areas.
Epping Forest has stood here for thousands of years, once serving as a royal hunting ground for kings and nobles. This forest wasn't just a wilderness, it was dangerous. Outlaws used these woods as cover, disappearing into the trees after robberies along nearby roads.
There have been so many places for people to hide.
I mean, it still is currently 600 acres, but during Dick Turpin's time, this would have been more like 20,000.
That's bigger than it is now.
Epping Forest has existed for thousands of years. It once functioned as a royal hunting ground used by kings and the nobility during medieval times. This was never just a quiet stretch of woodland. Outlaws, highwaymen, and smugglers all used these trees as cover, slipping into the forest after carrying out robberies on the roads nearby. Darkness came on fast. Before long, the two were moving through the forest trail in the dark, looking for a suitable place to pitch their tent and settle in for the night.
Just heard what sounds like a bottle.
Does it sound like rustling?
I mean, here is very, very campsite-y.
It's so silent here. Do you know, they say just everything dies here. Like, the sound dies, things don't live. And it is just silent. It's been so noisy.
You're right.
That is bizarre, isn't it?
We got the campsite set up as quick as possible so that we could begin investigating straight away. This is a time-lapse, but not actually that quick.
Once camp was set up, they moved through the trees to see if anything out of the ordinary was happening. They spent a considerable amount of time doing that. Nothing stood out. They made their way back to the tent to wind down, and that is when the atmosphere shifted.
I've seen something else. The red light was still on. What was it? Come on. Is it recording? Yeah. I'm going to turn my light on because... Wow. That is...
Footsteps were heard just outside the tent. They stepped out to look around. Nothing was visible. Whatever had made the sound was either gone or no longer close, or so they assumed. They switched on an infrared thermometer to scan the tree line for heat signatures. What appeared on the device was enough to send them both running.
Is that heat signatures in the water?
I don't know. It's just the log, isn't it?
Look. Can you see?
Where is that?
That's just across, literally straight across where the lights were coming from.
Yeah. Thank
Yeah.
you. That's enough for me to know.
Yeah,
That is absolutely more than fucking enough for me to know.
that's someone.
Yeah.
That's someone there.
Hello?
A figure of a man was visible behind a tree across from them, partially concealed, watching. The two immediately connected him to the footsteps they had heard circling the tent earlier. The history of that forest made his presence feel far more threatening than it might have elsewhere. They grabbed their gear and cleared out without hesitation. The possibility that the man tracked their movement all the way to the forest edge made the whole thing worse. Places like this carry real risk, and the danger is not always the kind that legends warn you about. A man hiding in the dark, watching two people at their tent, is hard to explain away as curiosity. The forest has a long history of people using it to stay out of sight, and that context does not make the sighting any less unsettling. Do you think he was just a stranger passing through? Or was there something more deliberate about the way he was watching them? This footage comes from Dando's Retro, a UK-based YouTube channel focused on immersive camping and paranormal exploration. On October 3rd, 2024, the crew headed out to Witchwood Forest in the United Kingdom for an overnight investigation.
But it sounds like the rain's coming back. We might go back into the tents. So if you want to make yourself known before we get back in the tents, this is your last chance.
In fact, we might not even be around much longer because the fire's dying down with normal firewood. If you can, make a noise. I mean, the most notorious entity of this place is either the demon, which I don't know much history about, or Amy. Amy, if you're around, we would love to speak to you. You can make a noise for us.
Anything at all, good or bad, let us know either way. But we are going to get back in this tent.
Great. Comes the rain again.
Let the fire die out, try to dry off.
Good 5 minutes as well.
Yeah. Very disappointing.
Oh, this is a bit of a bust. Yeah. Shame, I was expecting so much more.
You got 1 minute. Like, I'm going to walk over to the REM pod and start turning things off in a minute.
Rain's going down.
Yeah, strange, right?
Please tell me you heard that as well.
I did. Hello? So, what was that?
As the night wore on, the environment began to take over. Rain moved in steadily, the temperature dropped, and the fire that had been anchoring the campsite started dying out. The light grew unreliable, and the forest around them felt noticeably darker as visibility pulled back. They held their position, but the mood had changed. Earlier in the night, there had been real attempts to make contact, questions directed outward, equipment running, a sense that something might actually respond.
Is that you? Are you near the REM pod or the music box?
Bro, no, listen to me. That sounded like a laugh.
Well, I thought.
It sounded like someone sniggering.
Do you like it that we're stuck in the rain? And
I swear to God, the audio has to have picked that up. Has to have. It literally sounded.
Play it back.
I thought I saw a shadow up there then on that the line of the hill.
Cool.
It's like it was laughing. Something was laughing at us because of the rain.
Then the quiet broke. It started faint, The kind of thing that would be easy to miss if they had not already been paying close attention. A sound drifted in from somewhere deeper in the trees, almost like a quiet snigger. Not rain, not wind. Something that did not belong to the environment around them. They stopped mid-conversation and listened. It was just clear enough to register, but not clear enough to identify, and the shift in energy was immediate.
Yeah. Oh, what is that? What was that?
Like a scream.
Oh. What? Is that a light coming up there? Where? Over there. Is that like a light?
Is that somebody stood there? Am I seeing things?
No, bro. No, I think you're seeing things. Yeah. I heard that.
Yeah. Could be an animal.
But it's hard to identify things because of the rain.
Yeah.
I'm going to start packing some of the paranormal stuff up just because I don't want to get it wet.
Yeah.
As the first signs of daylight approached, the session wrapped up. The rain had not let up. Visibility was still poor, and the equipment had never produced anything consistent. Those sounds never developed into anything definitive. The fire was left, the gear was packed, and the site went quiet again. The forest gave them almost nothing for hours, then dropped 2 unexplained sounds right before the end. Whether the weather had anything to do with what they heard is one way to look at it, but it does not fully close the door either. Do you think those sounds had a natural explanation, or is it the kind of thing that just does not add up no matter how long you sit with it? The final account of the night comes from Moxley's Paranormal World, a UK-based solo paranormal investigation channel built around overnight camping in remote and natural settings. On April 15th, 2026, the investigator made camp beside a rural lake in a parkland area of the United Kingdom. The site was fully set up, the fire had burned low, and the world around him had gone completely still. The only sounds came from the water and the open fields nearby. Nothing was moving, nothing was visibly wrong, but the location carried weight. Local claims and rumors tied directly to that lake meant that even the silence felt like it was holding something back.
With what sound like, and the only way I can describe it, was a bunch of teenagers shouting and screaming. I've had a look in the back, there's nobody there. I've not been over the other side yet. Look at that.
He stayed in place and listened. Then the lake shifted. Splashing started coming from out on the water, not scattered or random, but patterned enough to pull focus. Something was happening in a specific direction, and it was distinct enough to stand out against everything else.
Abandoned. What's abandoned? Were you abandoned out here in the lake? It said there's a creature out here.
Energy.
Energy.
Unity.
Unity. Energy. Unity.
Wow.
Wow. So, who is this creature?
My body lies close by.
Oh, your body lies close by. Is that what people are mistaking you for? Thinking you're a creature, but you're not a creature.
I remember how I died.
Okay.
Help me, please.
Wow, okay, right. This is why I do enjoy the Spirit Talker.
Visitor.
Because, I don't know, some stuff just seems very much relevant to where you come to. Do you tell me your name?
Wait and see.
Wait and see. You're going to come out the water? You're going to show yourself to me? Are you buried?
Shortly after, his spirit app began producing responses at an unusual pace. Words came through in rapid succession, fragmenting and overlapping without pause. The tone then changed.
Can you make a noise? Can you shout? Let me hear your voice.
Please move forward.
Right, so I'm literally looking. I'll show you where I'm looking. So I'm looking here. Please move forward. You want me to walk down here towards the planks?
Acceptance.
Acceptance. Oh my goodness.
Please go left.
I almost fell in there then. Please go left.
Watch out for evil.
What was that? Watch out for evil. Is there something evil out here?
The responses moved into territory involving warnings, references to harm, and something described as a threatening presence. He sat with it, trying to work out whether any of it connected back to the sounds from the water.
Here for about an hour and a half. was going on what? It was going on 1:30 in the morning. And I was half asleep, doing in that bit of a phase where you're half asleep, half not asleep. Yeah, it's sort of in the middle. And I thought I heard footsteps outside, so I just lay here. And then, straight past the tent, it sounded like somebody walked past. No noise, no nothing. So I've jumped up, didn't even pull the camera, just jumped up, got the torch, unzipped the tent, looking out. There's nobody there.
Later, while resting in the tent, footsteps passed directly outside. Close, immediate, impossible to ignore. He checked. Nothing was there. No movement, no figure, no explanation. Just the sound, and then silence.
Is someone screaming? Somebody's screaming. I was just getting out of the tent. I heard some screaming going, "Help! Help!"
Then came the clearest moment of the entire night. A voice cut through, sharp and urgent, followed by a whistle. It did not blend into the background. It felt directed and real, the kind of sound that demands a response. He left the campsite and moved toward the water to find the source. The sound had come from a specific direction, but when he got there, nothing. No person, no movement, just darkness and open water. The environment shifted one more time after that. Mist began forming across the surface of the lake, subtle, but adding another layer to a night that had already stacked up more than enough. Every single time something pointed in a direction, the trail went cold the moment he got there. The voice especially. That is the part that is hardest to set aside. Do you think there was actually someone out on that lake? Or does everything that happened that night point to something else entirely? That's all for tonight's video. Which encounter gave you chills? Let us know in the comments below. Got your own experience? We want to hear it. And whatever you do, don't miss what's coming next.